Hi there, my name is Eli and welcome back to my channel, Elijah. And in today's video, I am going to be rerooting these two Generation 1 Cleo DeNile dolls. I have her signature doll right here, as well as her Fearleading doll. They're very, very similar, like hair-wise, fashion-wise, obviously different, but they both have bangs and tinsel. They do have some subtle differences between the two, like Fearleading has these braids kind of on her part line that go down that are really, really pretty. And some of the tinsel patterns are different, as well as the placements of those like brown streaks in her hair. So I am going to be rerooting these two simultaneously. I just think it'll be easier that way. Hopefully I don't like mix up the two because facially they're very, very similar. Let's see. Are they? No, I can tell with the lips. Yeah. But I myself don't even have any G1 Cleos. This is the first time that I've actually seen them and held them once he, gave them to me to reroot, and they're gorgeous. And I'm excited because I'll probably try and pick up the Cleo Induced Pre-Production 2-pack. So I really wanted to get this done before that 2-pack came out so he could have his original custom rerooted Cleo as well as the new one, because I'm sure he'll also get the new Cleo if he's a huge Cleo fan. I can guarantee it. So I'm very excited. I'm nervous just because I've never rerooted a G1 doll, but how hard can it be, right? This Cleo has gorgeous hair. It doesn't feel like there's any glue seepage. This Cleo, it does feel a little bit more like sticky and tacky. You can even kind of see right here kind of how it kind of falls. It just feels like there's glue seepage. So it'll be fun and a new experience for me to, work on G1 dolls. A lot of my interest does primarily fall with G3, but I like to learn new things, try new experiences out. And this is sort of a fun token of my friendship, like a gift towards him. I feel like it's very fun and special that he can have some custom dolls in his collection. And he also makes really cool pins. I'm going to plug him really, really quick. He makes really cool enamel pins. He's done Disney and Monster High, Sailor Moon, One Piece, Princess Peach. He does it all. Well, not all of it, just the things that he likes, which is fair. You should do what you're passionate about, which is what I respect him for. Is he is not a phony. He's very serious about, like, if I'm going to make a pin, it's going to be something that I myself like and would want to buy and have knowledge on, which if you know anything about the fantasy pin community, there's a lot of people who kind of hop onto things when they become trendy or popular and they're going to sell. It's its own niche community that I could probably film like a hour-long video essay on, because that community has so much history and so much drama. It is its own beast. If you're in that community, hey, what's up? But I'm less in that community now, and I'm more invested in dolls. But him and I actually became friends through fantasy Disney enamel pins, and then we both kind of fell into collecting Monster High right around the same time in 2022. So yeah, pretty interesting how that happens, right? I just wanted to show off his pins because I think they're gorgeous and stunning and pretty, and I love them. And he's very talented. And so yeah, if you want to check those out, his Instagram for pins is Disney Lagoon. And then he also has a Monster High Insta called Dawn of the Cleo, because he loves Cleo. And speaking of Instagram, I'm going to try and finally start using my Instagram account that's like associated with this YouTube channel. I made it like months ago because, I wanted to secure the handle, but I just don't really like taking photos of my dolls, which is weird because I make videos of them. But like doll photography is its own skill and I'm very intimidated by it. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try and see how I can do. I feel like it's so fun to be on Instagram and communicate with other doll people. Well, I don't know if it's fun because I haven't done it, but I think it'd be fun. So hold me to it. Be like, Eli, you still haven't posted on there. Get to it and I'll do it, I swear. But yeah, that is all I have for you. Let's get this project started because it's going to be a long one. Okay, let's begin the rerooting process. So not pictured here was me prior to this, taking a hairdryer to soften their heads and then yanking them off their bodies very carefully, might I add. And then you can grab some sharp scissors to trim the hair as close to the scalp as possible. And then from there, I take a flathead screwdriver to scrape out all of the hair plugs. Now, this was a different experience than, when I reroot G3 dolls, because these have their hair with glue, whereas G3 are, melted in, which are a lot easier to scrape out. This was a journey, especially Fearleading Cleo. Fearleading had terrible glue seepage, and her glue was like sticky, Whereas the signature Cleo, she did use glue, but it didn't have any seepage. It was just very hard and not sticky. So it was very different for me to work with both of them. Like one was easy, the other, being Fearleading, was extremely difficult to work with. And Fearleading, as a matter of fact, had this huge chunk of like glue and hair that took so long to pull out of her head. I had to get my fiance to help me. It took almost 2 days for me to pull that thing out, and I will show you it later because I'm so proud that I got it out of the head. But yeah, this just makes me never want to work on G1 dolls again because of how hard this was. Okay, before I move on to the next step, I just wanted to show this very gross piece of glue slash hair that was stuck inside of Fearleading Cleo's head. It is so hard. I'm like trying to break it, as you can see, and it's very stiff and gross. And this was whittled down because this was a lot bigger, and I was trying to chip away at it because, as you can see, like that was stuck inside there, and it was so hard to pull out and just get a good grip on it. And yeah, this was the hardest thing to pull out, and I'm glad I got it out. Okay, but that's a little gross. On to the next step. So basically, I'm going to take some hot water, pour it in here, and submerge these heads in very quickly. And what that's going to help do is close up and tighten the holes on the scalp, especially right here on her part line, like for her middle part. As you can see, the holes are really big. And so it's going to make them a little bit tighter before I start this reroot. That way I have a little bit more of a clean slate to begin off with. And even this like center part is very crooked and uneven for Fearleading Cleo. Like I don't know what happened there. It like kind of looked like they had the right idea and then they went off course. So yeah, we're gonna put her in boiling water as well as the signature Cleo. She needs it a little less, but you can see there's still some really big holes right here. And then let's do that real quick. Okay, so I have some very hot water, and I'm just gonna put their head in there. I really just concentrate it on the scalp because that's where I need the holes to kind of tighten up. So that's where I'm doing it. And it's still really hot. Like the steam is even very hot to the touch of my fingers. And there's some water stuck in there, as you can see. So I'm going to bring it over to the sink. And then for the next one, yeah, I saw this technique online and I never really used to do this, but I have had some dolls. Oh, it's really hot. I have had some dolls in the past. I think the G3 Core Cleo that could have definitely used some tighter holes. That sounds terrible. But yeah, this is a very useful technique, especially for dolls like this that are a little bit older that I don't want to mess up. Okay, and here is what they look like after. As you can see, the plugs on their head, especially on their middle part, are a lot smaller, and that's going to make rerooting a lot easier because the hair is going to want to stay, more snug and secure. And it also will help the scalp from ripping and tearing, which is my literal nightmare. So yeah, very happy that I learned about this extra step, and it definitely I think helps out a lot. Okay, here are the two Cleos. Here's some progress of where I am on both of them. You can see I'm very far along. I usually like to do like some progress updates, but I've been very focused on these two because, I'm trying to get them done in a timely fashion somewhat. And here is Fearleading. I'm very close. Like, as you can see, we are nearing the end here. I have to section out the bangs and do the part line, which I will show you on camera. But I just wanted to give a little bit of a progress update before I work on them any further. It's taking a while because I'm doing these two simultaneously. So like I'll work on this one, switch off, work on this one, and back and forth. But here's just a quick little progress shot on where I am on the reroots. Okay, so I'm going to explain the rerooting process a little bit more in depth. So first off, you need some hair. I'm using Saran hair today from Dolly Hair and the Doll Planet. I know Shimmerlocks is another really popular doll hair retailer. And the black is in the shade Raven Black from Dolly Hair. And then later on, I use a brown color as well in the shade Nitrous from the Doll Planet. Now I take that hank of hair and I'm sectioning out plugs with my rat tail comb And I'm setting them on my lap off a frame. You know, you'd probably do this on a table or something, or like a desk, not on your bed. But I'm working with what I got here, you know? And then I'm sectioning out the hair so I can later stick them in the head one by one. But an important part of this step right here is making sure that you are sectioning out like the right amount of hair, right? That is the right density. You don't want it to be too little hair because then it's just gonna like fall right out of the head and not stick in there. But you don't want it to be too much hair either. And I don't have the best advice or tip on like how to figure out how much hair is the right amount of hair. But the more you do this hobby, it's like a skill that you kind of craft and hone over time. And this is only my, I think, like 12th and 13th reroot because I'm doing two at the same time, you know. But this is only like my 12th reroot, and I've kind of got the hang for it, you know. And you can see it too as I'm picking up the hair with my rerouting tool about how thick it is, give or take. And then, yeah, you pick it up with the rerouting tool. So I have a tool that I made. It's just like a sewing needle that I stuck in an X-Acto blade holder. And you clip the end of the sewing needle, not the pointy side, but the side where you would normally thread through like thread. Um, you clip it at like a 45-degree angle. So you have one side that is longer than the other. That way you can use that to pick up the hair and hold it in place. That way you can then stick it in the head. Yeah. And that's basically rerouting. That's the whole process. It is easier said than done, I will say. It can be a very finicky thing. You can break needles, you know, it can be a lot handling hair. You have to have fine motor skills and pretty good dexterity. And I will say you have to really commit. It can be very easy to want to give up and not finish the project, but it really is worth it in the end once you put it all together. And here I'm showing you how I'm making the tinsel for this doll. I'm using some gold embroidery thread that I kind of unravel. This is very, very tedious. And even in this clip alone, I didn't unravel it as far as it needs to get unraveled. This is like maybe like 6 separate strands. And then those 6 separate strands need to get unraveled even further. Um, they're like 2 pieces that get unraveled into a singular piece. It's very, very convoluted, but that's what I did for Cleo. Okay, next I'm going to show you how I reroot the bangs. And not every doll you're going to reroot has bangs. Both of these Cleos happen to have bangs, and a lot of my previous reroots have as well. I love some good bangs on a doll, I'll say. And I think these tips really, really help. So I cut the hair in half and reroot with a smaller piece of hair. And this is helpful for 2 reasons. Number one, you are wasting less hair because you're already going to trim the bangs later on, you know, when you go to section them out. And you just cut off less hair and it makes it so you save more of the hair, you know, because hair is expensive. This hobby can be expensive. So that's number one. Number two is it helps you section out the bangs later. So I'm rerouting exactly like the section that is going to be the bangs, if that makes sense, like with these shorter pieces of hair. So when I go to trim them later, I can separate out these short pieces from the long pieces very easily. And I'll already know, like, that's the bangs. That's the section that I'm going to use for the bangs. I can gel it, trim it, cut it, boom. You get bangs a lot faster. And it just kind of helps you map out and visualize the bangs um, in your head a lot better. I should have shown this a little bit better, like how I map out and visualize it, but it's kind of all in my head and it feels very second nature and like intuitive for me. And I realize it might not be as intuitive for everyone else, like as a viewer. Okay. And to make matters even more complicated, this reroute involves tinsel, which is very finicky and can be very tough to work with as well. But I mean, it's Cleo. She needs tinsel. It's like you can't have a Cleo doll without it. I mean, I know a lot of people who pull out the tinsel for their Cleo dolls, so I guess you can, but I love it. And I want to honor this doll and, you know, give her that gold tinsel. And how I do it is I don't kind of do it like the hair, right? So the hair, you're kind of looping and it ends up doubling in density, right? I don't do that with the tinsel. I just take as much tinsel as I need and then I just fold over the end over the rerouting tool, like the needle, maybe like half a centimeter over. and I just stick it in there, and it stays in pretty well because it's in there with the rest of the hair. It can be a struggle, as you can see. Like, I'm very much struggling here when I reroot with Tinsel. It's not easy, and it does take a couple tries for me to like pick it up correctly and get it in the head. So I do want to mention that it is complicated. So good luck. It's complicated, but I think well worth all of the efforts that you put into it, in my opinion, at least. And next, I'm going to move on to the part line. Now, I think the part line is really important, probably the most important part of a reroot, and I really put a lot of attention and care and TLC into the part line. Okay, you're like, Eli, you're talking about the part line, but I don't see you rebooting anything. Well, I am prepping for the part line. What I'm doing here in this clip is I am blending a piece of black hair and a piece of brown hair, and I'm doing a custom color blend, literally one at a time. I'm gonna blend this hair out and then section it back into two plugs, and then that way I have a really nice dimensional blend of black and brown hair. I think it makes the end results look really, really good and dynamic. You don't have like chunky highlights. They're very blended and natural. And I love this technique. This is actually the exact technique that I used in my Neon Frights Twyla reroot to get that shade of blue for Twyla. So yeah, just using all sorts of techniques in this video, I guess, today. And now we're moving on to actually rerooting. Here you can see I have some Tinsel, that custom blend of black and brown hair. And the reason I do like a custom hair blend one at a time for reference is because I have blended hair in the past, right? Where I'm taking two hanks of hair and then blending them and brushing them out. But I find that it gives me two issues. Number one, sometimes I'm left with tons of excess hair in a very specific color blend that like I just don't have a use for. And number two, it does shift the length of the hair. Um, where you have some pieces that are shorter and some that are longer, and they're really difficult to work with, and I don't like that. So that's why I put all the effort to blend them one at a time. Now, my technique for the part line is I am basically sticking two pieces of hair into one, I guess, like plug, and I then move one side of hair to the right, one section of hair to the left, and then you have a very seamless kind of finish. A lot of doll companies like thatch part lines, like Rainbow High especially. But when I'm rerooting, I find that this is pretty feasible and a little easier than thatching. It can have its own difficulties and issues that can come up, but I find that I can solve those issues pretty easily, which I'll talk about later on. But yeah, just keep going down the line. I'll reroot a hair, move it to the right, reroot a hair in the same hole, move it to the left, and go down one by one and just keep doing that process. Keep checking the part line, make sure there's no bald spots, just making sure it's looking clean. Be very careful doing the part line. I find that this is probably, like I said, the most delicate process. You do not want to split the scalp this late into the game. That's like worst case scenario here. And there you can see I'm kind of showing you what the part line looks like. Gorgeous. Like, look how good that part line looks. Now, as good as the part line is, I can see like a couple of bald spots, and they're very, very subtle and small and tiny, but they do bother me. So I go back and I cover them. And I describe it like patchwork, like I'm patching up the part line. And I really, really think this makes like a world of difference. Truthfully, I really, really do. It's one of those tiny little details that like I'm glad I put in the extra effort to fix. And I really think this separates like a good reroot from like a great reroot because I've already put in so much time and hours to rerouting this doll. I'm going to want to make sure that the end results are seamless and as perfect as I can make them. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist here, so that's my advice. That's my advice to you is make sure you cover those bald spots. Just be very, very careful, like I said, that you don't split the scalp, but it's worth it. It's really, really worth it. And after this, we are done with the reroot. Now, it looks a lot easier because I condensed this footage down, but it is very time consuming. I did two dolls at once. I didn't record me finishing off the bangs in the part line for Fearleading Cleo. I did that off camera for time's sake. But yeah, this was a lot. This was a lot. Okay, now maybe like the easiest part of the reroot, just gluing the hair in. So I think the hair is already pretty snug, but I really want to secure it with some glue. So I take some Fabri-Tac glue and just kind of squishing a good amount, a generous amount, not too much, not too little. And then I take like a little Q-tip, a cotton swab, and I just make sure that glue is nicely lathered, maybe not lathered, spread across the inside of the head so it secures in place. And don't be fearful. This glue is not going to seep like the old glue that they used on these dolls back in the day. It is a nice, like, it dries like a nice plasticky feel. It does not seep. So do not be scared. I know I was talking about glue seepage earlier and how much that sucked. You do not have to worry about that here. Okay, and then once the glue is all dry, I will take a hair dryer to heat back up the doll head and stick it back on the body. This step is really easy, a lot easier than taking the head off the body. And after that, we can then wash her and start moving on to prepping her for, the final look, which is the most fun part, in my opinion. And here I'm just going to wash her with some dish soap and then use some conditioner. And I also do a boil wash. I would say I really do recommend to do a boil wash. I don't know, it's not everyone's cup of tea for whatever reason, but I really think it helps flatten the hair out and make the doll just look finalized, finished, complete. I've seen a couple people like post reroots where it's very apparent that they did not wash the hair after rerooting it. And the thing about that is when you're sticking the hair into the scalp, it's very puffy. Like the hair does not lay naturally against the head, like the doll head. And the boil wash really helps kind of like set that hair in place and make it look, how it's supposed to look. So yeah, I would not skip the step. Do be careful though, because it's boiling hot water and you do not want to burn yourself. And being very careful here. But yeah, you can see it steaming. It's very hot. So like I said, just be very cautious. I just used an electric kettle. You can, heat it up over the stovetop or the microwave or whatever. But like I said, do not skip the step. I think it's really important. And I don't know if I've shown it in the past. Maybe I have. But I'm showing it again here because to me, this really helps like pull everything together and, you know, prep the doll for their final stages. Like if you didn't have to cut bangs after this, you'd basically be done. I have bangs to cut. So we're not quite done yet, but we're almost there. Okay, now we can prepare for the bangs. And remember earlier when I talked about rerooting with smaller pieces of hair because it makes the bangs easier? This is when that takes place because it was very easy for me to section these short pieces of hair from long pieces of hair. And it just makes the prep work for this step a lot quicker and easier and more seamless. And I'm gonna wet the bangs with some like water that is diluted with conditioner and flatten them into place and start shaping them. And then once the shape looks about right, like what I'm looking for, I will secure that with some got to be glued styling gel. Now, one of the tools I'm using here is like a spoolie, like a makeup spoolie, a clean one. Um, and I use that to kind of shape the bangs, flatten them. And then I even go over it with my finger to kind of help flatten them in place and make sure that it's secured and positioned where I want everything to be. This can be, like most things in this video, a little bit tricky and finicky, but the more you do it over time, the better you get. I have given so many of my dolls bangs that like this is, kind of become second nature for me. So even if you don't plan on rerooting a doll, if you just have like a spare doll lying around that you want to play with and transform, this is something fun to do. Okay, and now to cut the bangs. So first I'm taking my rat tail comb and kind of separating the gelled down hair uh, from the face, because sometimes it sticks down to the face when you press the bangs down. And I do that to loosen it up so it's easier to get in there and cut. And I'm taking some scissors and doing a really big like initial chop just to kind of get that hair out of the way. And then from there, I will fine tune and shape the bangs to what I'm looking for. Also, I am using some embroidery scissors. These are from Michaels, maybe like $12, I want to say, but they work really, really well for cutting bangs. Someone had commented in like an earlier video of mine that I should use German steel embroidery scissors. Now, I couldn't find German steel, but these are from Italy and they work just as well. And they also recommended to only use them on hair so they stay very sharp. The scissors that I used to use, I would also use when I would like open up packaging and like cardboard, and I would just use them for everything, like all-purpose scissors. But then they got really dull, so that was great advice. Now I just kind of keep these aside for when I cut bangs and hair, and it works really, really well. And then there you can see I just keep shaping back and forth, left to right, making sure that I have the right length. I'm kind of going for like, I don't know, normal bang length. Like this Cleo initially had really short bangs, and I'm not gonna make them as short. They're still gonna be a tad bit longer just because that's more to my taste. And I asked my friend, and he said that's fine. So yes, that's kind of what I'm going for here. But yeah, this process is scary. Do not be intimidated. Just trust yourself. Go slow. Do small little eensy weensy cuts, and keep doing it back and forth until you feel like it's the right length. You know, you can cut away more hair, but you can't magically regrow it. You know, especially after a reroot. So do be careful. But yeah, this process is pretty fun. So hope that helps. I'm all done. These reroots are finished, and I'm so happy. I think they turned out amazing. I love both of these dolls. I'm very sad that I don't get to keep them, but it was very nice that I got to do this for a friend, and they get to now live in his collection where he can enjoy and appreciate and admire them. It's a different type of like special feeling, so I'm very happy about that. Roman, I hope you love these two, and I can't wait to send them off to you. But before I do that, I do want to show off a little bit more details in depth. So Fearleading Cleo does have like these braids that I added, and I think they look really good. I love them. Pretty simple. Oh, this one, I kind of like when this braid lays like a little closer up. Yeah, the hair is really, really soft. I did trim the ends just so they weren't rough. I think the hair is still pretty long, but I'll let my friend decide if he wants it shorter, then he can cut it shorter. I kind of like the fantasy of really long hair, especially with like a reroot, you know? It's kind of like the fun of it, I guess, you know? And for reference, I also have the Creep Reduction Cleo from the Cleo Induced 2-pack. It should be hitting Amazon like any moment. So hopefully it comes out soon and everyone can snag this gorgeous doll up. But here she is next to this original G1 Cleo that I rerooted. I think looking at these two reroots, like something that I maybe would go back and change about them is just adding more tinsel. Like I know it's not technically tinsel, like it's embroidery thread, but sometimes it gets lost. Like there's not that much. There's a little bit peeking through here on the bangs, and you can kind of see it if you touch and sift through the hair, but I just wish there was more. It kind of hides in the hair really, really well. So that's one thing I would change. But overall, I love these reroots. I think they turned out so well, and I'm very happy. I do like the tinsel that I used prior. Like I'll show you my Cleo that I rerooted. I don't know when I rerooted her a long time ago. I use this different type of tinsel. I much prefer this tinsel. I think. Just I love it. I love it so much, and it was a lot easier to work with than having to like deal with embroidery thread. So in the future, I'm probably going to stick with this tinsel. But for this project, I'm happy with how it turned out. Here is this temporary Cleo army. I love Cleo. I kind of like G3 more than G1, but overall, I still think she's really fun. And my friend is like a Cleo fanatic, G1 more than G3. So I'm really happy that I did this for him. And yeah, thanks for hanging out and watching me go through the entire rerouting process for these two Cleos. I try to go more in depth than I normally do and just kind of show more scenes and clips and things like that. So let me know if you like that. Comment down below what you think of these two, who you prefer, Fearleading or Signature. I think Signature. I don't know. Just I like Fearleading, but look at that. That is gorgeous. Look at that movement. Just oh yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. They're both good. They're both great, but I just like this one more. Okay, that is all I have for you. Side note, like not really doll related, but personal related. I'm like moving soon. That's why I've been so absent because I'm packing and preparing for that. So I don't know how, frequently I'll be making content in the next couple weeks, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Like I'm still here. I still love dolls, but my personal life is just a little hectic and busy. So I will try my best to keep on this channel. But yeah, I just have to figure out this whole move situation and then I'll be back at it. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, now that is all I have for you today. My name is Eli, and this is my channel, Draculasia, and I will catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.